Okay, listeners, welcome to this episode of Shorts. As you know, Shorts is promoted by Think Talent. This is a series of conversation with senior leaders, largely in HR, giving perspectives on different aspects of talent. So I have a very special guest with me today, Mr. Amar Sinhji, who's the CHRO and a director with Khaitan Company. As many of you may already know, Khaitan Company is one of the most respected law firms, in the country, of very old and statured standing, if I may call it that. And Amar's been with them for a few years after a very long stint with the Tatas. So Amar, welcome to this conversation, and thank you for making time.
It's a pleasure to be here, and especially to be with you. Thank you very much.
Great. So let's launch, straight into the conversation. So Amar, we hear very little about, talent in professional services firms, which your company is. So what do you really see? If you want to give an overview about talent in professional services firm, what are the kind of things you would talk about?
So, like you said, having spent a major chunk of my career in the corporate sector with the Tatas and other large industry, and then shifting at this stage to a professional services firm, one big realization that dawns upon you as far as talent is concerned is that we are very specialized. We have only lawyers, and we deal with the law. So if I was in a regular company, I would have sales, marketing, HR, production, engineering, all sorts of things, and whatever the company is doing. Here, I only deal with lawyers. I mean, there is no other, no other profile to speak with. And if you are a tier one firm, which we are, tier one meaning you're at the top end of the spectrum, you are only getting on board top tier talent. There is no second tier talent. And even if you did get second tier talent, they won't last in the firm because of the level of work, the kind of clients that you deal with. So for me, it became very focused. I'm suddenly, if I were to take campus placements, I am only going to law schools. I'm only going to the national law colleges or law schools that meet that criteria, and I'm only hiring lawyers. That was one realization. And the second realization was that there is deep verticalization. So, when I say law, it's a very general thing. And when I say a lawyer, it's a very general thing. But we have, maybe 30 kinds of practices. Each practice has a subsection. And being such an old law firm, I can see it within the law firm. So there are the older partners who practice everything. And there are newer partners who would say that, I'm a specialist in tax, and within tax, I'm a specialist in M&A, or within M&A, I'm a specialist in inflow, outflow, some such thing.
Right.
So what is very different here is high level of talent and exceedingly deep verticalization. So, it's like in the old days, you had a doctor who was a GP and he gave you a pill for everything. Right. That doesn't work now. So if your ear is aching, you go to a ear specialist, and within a ear specialist, there may be somebody who deals with an inner canal and an outer canal. So that's very different for me.
Yeah. No, that's a good way of putting it, but so what challenges does that throw up? You already mentioned some of the differences compared to, let's say, a very traditional operating firm. But therefore, given that context, what would be the top 3 or 4 challenges which from an HR perspective, you think we would all face?
I'm allowed to have my cup of tea while talking.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Some of the pleasures of being at home is to enjoy some good tea. So one of the challenges that because you're a tier one firm and you're dealing with a certain level of clients, globally, I would say more than maybe 50-60% of our revenues would come in from overseas clients. Right. It is very essential that you attract top tier talent to your firm. So any corporate, we are competing on campuses. And because Indian talent is so highly prized and so good, we are also competing with foreign firms who come to our campuses. Right. And a couple of factors go in that you need to be on the top campuses, you need to be there ahead of everyone, you need to have a brand, you need to have people with you in the firm from those campuses who are your ambassadors, and they will speak for you, that for the firm to join, because The lawyers, the top guys who are graduating have, a choice. I mean, they can choose to go wherever they want. Once they're in your firm, the firm needs to have the ability to provide top tier work to them, the ability to deal with top tier client, of course, have top notch compensation and facilities, which is really not an issue because, we pay very well. Our facilities are state of the art. You've been to our offices, so I don't need to tell you that. But the ability to continuously keep that talent engaged, rewarded, and moving on from one challenging assignment to the other. So there's dual pressure of getting the talent in and then keeping the talent engaged and making sure that you get top flight work. So for example, let's say you are running a consulting firm and I'm running a consulting firm and I'm getting all the top corporates, your talent will just shift to me saying, okay, Amar's firm gets better work and we will go there because lawyers, like any professional services, grow on experience. The older they get, the better they get. Age is valued. In the corporate world where you kind of peter off, and they want to pack in as much experience as possible. So exceedingly hard. They think of themselves as owners of the firm, which they will become when they become partners.
Right.
So keeping them engaged, giving them quality work, making sure they move from one challenging assignment to the other is exceedingly important.
Right.
Above all this, Bimal, it's culture. So when everything is done and dusted, they know they're getting top flight work, they're getting to work with top partners, they're getting top-notch compensation, they have great facilities, they will pick culture. Culture where they can learn, they can grow, they're respected. There is a learning culture, there's a culture of respect and dignity. So that's really how different this is from a corporate. Focus is very, very high.
Right. And you mentioned, sort of becoming a partner, and we've seen that in other professional services firms as well. That's almost like a aspiration which, most professional people, when they enter the career, are almost saying, at some stage I want to become a partner. So when you're growing people into those kind of leadership roles, along the way, what kind of things are you looking at? What are the typical things? Let's say you may have a very talented guy but may never make a partner, or some kind of people are more likely to make it to senior leadership levels as a partner in a firm like yours or any other professional. What would be the kind of things which you would look at?
So it's an interesting question. So of course everyone has one goal, to become a partner. That's the own single goal that every guy who enters the firm enters it with. What happens is that they are judged at various levels. Typically you would join as an associate and you would become a senior associate and principal associate and partner. Let's say if you're from a top-notch law school, you're a top-notch guy in a top-notch firm, and all things being equal and all things running fairly with no surprises, 8 or 10 years you would make partnership. You would begin as a salaried partner, and then you would graduate to becoming an equity partner. Mostly those differences are internal. So as an external, you would only be seen as a partner. Nobody's going to announce whether you're salaried or equity. And in that journey, a couple of things happen. So people will find their specialization. Sometimes even when they come out of a law school, in the initial years, they may, maybe shift a practice or within a practice find that they are better at something. The second thing that will happen is they will find out for themselves, and the firm will also notice that really what is their strength.
Right.
I say what is their strength. Let's say some guy is an outstanding executioner. He's very, very good at his field. He's just academically and functionally brilliant, and you could put any mandate on his table and he would be able to work around it. You would find that some guys are just terrific business development guys.
Right.
They can get clients, they can get mandates. They are just out there, and they will grow up to what we in legalese or in law firm language called rainmakers.
Right.
So they are the ones who are getting new clients, selling the firm outside, just making sure that the firm continuously is getting, new mandates. Becoming a partner carries with it a lot of responsibilities, responsibility of firm management, responsibility of putting food on the table, responsibility of getting clients, responsibility of executing, responsibility of being a thought leader, so on and so forth. So there may be many who will feel that this is too much. I really don't, I'm a great lawyer, but I really don't want to deal with all this. But so what do you do? I mean, there's only one path in a law firm, that's become partner. That's it. Unlike a corporate, there are not, you can't get transferred, do this, that, change your function, or take up some other designation. No. So we do have an alternate career path. There are maybe a smaller percentage who would choose to become what we call a counsel.
Okay.
So a counsel doesn't deal with all the other responsibilities of business development, managing a team, getting revenues, managing a firm, but they will just deal with executing work.
Right.
So they are like a partner, but they are exceedingly good at the specialization they are in. So let's just take an example, saying that I've grown up in the tax practice, and I'm in indirect tax, and within indirect tax, I'm maybe specializing in GST. And I say that, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do all the time. I don't want to, I'm not fit to do business development, leading a team, doing this, that, etc. And all. So just give me this. So we will say, okay, you change tracks, you will become a counsel, sit in your room, you execute work. We will put work on your table. You don't have to manage anybody. Maybe you make a little less. Maybe you won't have, all the exposure and the standing of partner. But you are happy. We are happy.
Right.
To have you. So you are technically a subject matter expert. So maybe like, if you're in a large pharma company, you're a scientist, or if you're, you just focus on your work, you're not concerned with what, or if you're in an airline, you're like a pilot, right? You just want to fly you're not concerned with managing the airline. You'd make a terrible manager.
Correct.
You made a manager fly the aircraft, he'd crash the aircraft. So those are this thing. But usually over that 8 or 10 year period, both the individual and the firm realize what are your strengths.
Right.
There are a lot of people who have leadership abilities, and they will step up on firm management.
Correct.
Will help with HR, IT, knowledge management, finance. They play a part there. There are a lot of people who will find are very, very good at gaining and imparting knowledge. They would work within the firm. We have a huge learning and development vertical, which in legal firms is called CLE, continuing legal education, which ensures that you are up to date, top of the mind, top of the line with everything that's happening out there. So they would train internally. They would become trainers, of course, while continuing to do the work that they do. At a partner stage, you take up a lot of other responsibilities also. You could take up firm management, you could take up contributing to something, you could take up business development. So there, let's say within business development, there are some guys who are very good at it within the country and internally, and there are some guys who are very good at doing it overseas.
Right.
There is a lot that's required to do BD abroad. There's a lot of travel and continuous meetings, etc. Not many people can handle that kind of stress. So it's a journey over 8 or 10 years going on. And once somebody becomes a partner, also things could change as the partner matures. So you're late 20s, early 30s when you will become a partner. By the time you become, say, 40 or 50, you may change a lot. What may not change is your subject matter expertise and the practice that you are in, because by then you are really deep into it.
Correct.
What could happen is that a lot of times people also choose to take up a challenge. So, I mean, just to give an example, let's say we had a young partner, we realized that employment law is, something up and coming. So a few years ago, we were looking for someone. He was a corporate partner. He says, okay, I'm ready to take on this challenge. The firm backs me up. So he drops everything. He takes up a new practice, studies it, builds it, grows. Today, he's one of the top-notch employment lawyers in the country. Let's say we have another partner who, at many years back, took up competition law. It was something new. Nobody knew about it. It was coming. The firm said, we need to get into it. There's nobody out there that you can hire. So she took it up, learned it, built a practice around it. The firm supported her in all ways. You don't worry about your compensation, etc., etc. The firm backs you up. So you actually shift completely, say in this case, a corporate lawyer to an employment lawyer or a competition lawyer. Both of them are top-notch lawyers, ranked lawyers in the country today. But it's a leap of faith they took. But not everybody has that courage.
Right.
Over this period, you will also find out who's good at what, who wants to take such decisions, and we work. So that's how it
So
goes.
that's a great, sort of you've almost covered the whole spectrum of a career as far as professional services people are concerned. So let me ask you a slightly broader question, Amar. See, Khaitan is a very respected law firm, and similarly there are other professional services firms which are very highly respected, and the nature of these firms, given that you have a lot of partners coming from different backgrounds, they become at some stage either profit sharing or equity partners and so on and so forth. And you alluded to this a little bit around this whole culture thing, and it would be interesting to see what are the kind of things, for example, your company or similar companies have done to create that culture which which almost in a way demands deep respect from the market. Somebody says, okay, if I have to consider the top two firms, I would go to, Khaitan as one of the firms, for example. So how do you create that culture? Because talent has a very strong link to that, as you already mentioned.
Yeah. Yes. For us, I guess it's largely history, heritage, and luck. We've been around for 110 years. So last year we completed 110 years, and we crossed the milestone of 1,000 members.
Okay.
Big year for us in that sense. So, I mean, if I were to just try and explain this, so let's say if you take partners, so, we have roughly 4 or 5 kinds of partners. So we have partners whose fathers or grandfathers were partners in the firm.
Okay.
Right. So, I'll have a partner saying my father was a partner or my grandfather was a partner. So they are there. They are living, breathing the firm. You don't need to teach them anything. They're doing it at home, everything. We have partners who joined us from campus, grew in the firm and became partners.
Right.
So they are soaked in the culture of the firm, right? You come straight out of 5 years of law school, you join our firm, 10, 12 years then down the line, you're a partner. It's highly unlikely that you would quit. We have very little attrition at a partner level. Most of the attrition will happen in the first 3 to 5 years.
Right.
The pressures of work, the pressures of the reality of a top tier law firm, all that kind of thing happens, and but after that it's fairly smooth. So this is the second, so these are all carrying your cultures.
Right.
I don't need to teach them. So if my father was a partner and my grandfather, I know what it is. And if I came from law school and I became a partner, again, I don't need any classes in Khaitan culture. We have 2 or 3 kinds of external partners. We have people who we would hire as partners from other law firms, or maybe a little junior and they become partners. Right. So there is a bit of acclimatization, if I may call it, that's required in terms of how we think, how we act, how we behave. What's different because he or she is bringing the culture of that. And law firm cultures and like corporate cultures are very strong because, like I said, again, it's very focused, it's very small, it's very strong. Corporate could have different cultures. There's a culture in a plant, there's a culture in the sales office, there's a culture in HR, there's a culture, Bombay culture. वो सब नहीं है. There's one, culture here. There's another kind of partner is people who have either studied or worked abroad and come back to India.
Okay.
For whatever reason. Mostly it's personal, parents, etc., etc. Then there are actually only very few firms that would provide you the quality of work, the infrastructure, and the compensation that you would have had in an English or a US law, for example. So there's a very small market here. So they would come in, and we actually welcome that because they bring in a lot of good stuff about the cultures that come from, and they would very easily imbibe the cultures that we have. A lot of it, Bimal, is unlike again a lot of unlearning I had to do when I came from the corporate, that you will have some cultural intervention and some firm will come and this and that and all. So a lot of it is behavioral.
Right.
Your senior partner, you see how he's working, walking, talking, dressing, and everybody just follow. And a few small things, for example, when I was joining the firm, most of my interviews were outside for reasons of confidentiality and all. And I remember when the first time I came to office, and I was, the managing partner was telling me that, okay, I drive my own car. So he's saying, okay, Amar, don't worry, you bring it and my driver will come down and park your car for you. So, I mean, nobody's told me this ever in 30 years of working, right? So I said, no, it's all right. I mean, if you just tell me if there's a parking, I'll park and come back. But somebody was there to receive me. And when I came up, again, because of confidentiality, and I was whisked to a waiting room. So all that was fine. I mean, normal courtesies and everything. When I finished my interview, for example, the managing partner of the firm and another senior partner who was there walked with me to the elevator. So I said, it's all right. I mean, I know where it is. And they said, no, this is our culture. After that, Bimal, including for you, I've walked every visitor.
Exactly.
Elevator, right? I mean, it just happened. Nobody told me. It's not written in the induction manual.
Right.
If you see it, and when the managing partner is standing at the elevator with me, waiting to see me off, maybe 30, 40 people would have crossed us in the lobby. People are coming, going, and they're all watching, right? And they're saying that if he can do it, we also need to do it.
Correct.
If I went down finally to the basement or whatever, the garage to get my car, the guy asked me, what's your car number? And, so he was taking out a slip. So I had to pay him maybe $200-300. And then he suddenly says, "Arey, sir, आप Khaitan office में गए थे ना?" So I said, हाँ, कोई बात नहीं, आपका parking office ने pay कर दिया है. Now, that $200 doesn't matter to me here or there. But I'm telling you this story after 5 years, and I'll tell it after 15 years. And so much to me that somebody went from the office to the garage, took the trouble to find out which was my car, told them that, okay, here's 2-3 hours fee. Don't charge him when he comes out because he's a guest. These are just behavioral stuff. So most of the cultural integration, Bimal, is behavioral.
Right.
And a lot of our clients are second, third generation clients. So some of the business houses that grew out of Calcutta and who are now in Bombay, they are our clients. And, their fathers have been our clients and their grandfathers have been our clients. So there's trust. There is a lot of internal behavior. So, I mean, a couple of things. We are not aggressive internally with each other. So everybody's soft spoken. You will not find you will find one-off guy taking off here or there, but you will not find a harsh email. You will not find raised voices.
Right.
Customer is everything. The client is everything for us. So we sacrifice how we deal with the junior. So, junior can walk into a partner's room. Of course, I mean, he would knock or see if he's busy, but there is no hierarchy. We believe in strangely for a law firm, a first name hierarchy. So, I mean, everybody calls me Amar and I call everybody by their first name. Then we have some really, really senior, partners in the firm. I mean, sometimes it's a bit embarrassing for a junior to, but we make that attempt.
Right.
And unlike, say, law firms, a simple thing like our cafeteria is like a college canteen. There's no innovation, there's not fancy. It's actually benches and tables like a college canteen.
Right.
Everybody just sits, and everybody means everybody, including peons and security and receptionist and the lift man and whoever is there. Now, it has so happened that, one table will generally be kept loose for partners to, nobody has reserved it. People out of respect will, not. But otherwise, everybody sits together, eats together, everybody warms their food in the same microwave, everybody has the same cutlery, everybody has the same tea and coffee. So it's a lot of visual, what I'm trying to tell you.
Right.
That's how it's reinforced. We have common bathrooms for everybody, for example. All partners sit in a cabin that's the same size. There's no big and small cabin, including your managing partner. Everybody books a meeting room. So that's very, very important because one can talk about culture and have posters on the wall saying this is our culture, or one can do it and everybody sees and knows what's your culture. So we are on the latter half. We do have a statement and all that, but
no, Amar, great. That's a great sort of, I would say, insight. And maybe just to round this off, I would say two things, right? One is that firstly, I've of course been to your office and experienced both you and some of your colleagues and all that. And I must say that I can vouch that there's a distinctive flavor, if you will, to the firm, which is a very which certainly for me has been a very nice flavor because you also go to other places and let's say quote unquote the behavioral side and which you experience is sometimes a little bit different. So clearly, but I think the last point I just want to make, and then I'll get to the last question, Amar, is that I think because you built a culture of a particular kind as a firm, it also attracts a particular kind of people, and allows them to grow and stay, if you will, because there's always this, the right pollen will then attract the right, sort of honeybee or whatever it is, right? So I think that's important. But last question, Amar, if you were to advise people in HR who are looking at careers in professional, law firms or professional services firms of any kind, what is the one tip you would give them? I know you've talked about your own unlearning and what you learned, but if there's one tip you would give them, what would that be?
One is difficult, maybe. Okay, but I think one tip would be to learn the business. A professional services person will not respect you if you don't understand what his business is.
Right.
I'm not saying that I should become a lawyer. It may be a bit too late in the day for me to do that. I need to know how a law firm works, what it means, who are our clients, what it takes to be a partner, how is money made. Only then can I tell him that I'm here to help you on the HR front. If I don't understand that, however great an HR guy I may be, it's not going to work.
Right.
It's very critical because you see, I'm living and breathing the business, unlike a corporate. You see, in a corporate, sitting in some HR department, in HO, plant is somewhere, sales office is somewhere. I may never have been to a plant in 20 years of my life. I may never meet a sales guy. I could be drafting policy and doing all sorts of stuff in a corporate world. Really, being, if I were to use an analogy, I could be in an ivory tower and still be very successful.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. I mean, if I talk to a partner or tell him we'll step out for lunch, I know that if I'm taking away 2 hours, it's 2 hours of what we call billable time.
Correct.
Right? And if he's spending that time having lunch or chit-chatting with me, there must be something worthwhile that I'm conveying to him. So I would say that if you are a support function, whether you're a finance guy or especially for an HR, forget everybody else. First thing you must do is understand the nature of the business, how it is, how it runs, who are your clients, how do you make money, what is valuable to your partnership. Everything else can be learned at short notice, will follow. If you do this right in the first 3 or 4 months, it won't work. However good an HR guy you may be.
So great, Amar. Thank you for your time and those insights. I think it's been a lovely conversation. As usual, it's always great sort of having a conversation with you, just informally or formally. And, this has been a lovely one, and we'll pick it up later as well, because there are some things around some of the things you said at some stage. I will pick that up subsequently in a longer conversation. But thank you again for being here. And I'm sure that our listeners will take back a lot of stuff from this conversation. So thank you again.
Thank you very much, Bimal. Always a pleasure, and stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you.